Shall we start? Okay, of course, this is Kubernetes migration working group meeting. So, Amy, since you have most of the items and topics, how about you drive this meeting today?
I can do that. Yes, so welcome everyone. This is the 9th of May, Kubernetes working group meeting. So first of all, I wanted to mention, welcome to Michele. So Michele has joined us in delivery, and I've shared the issue there where we sort of discussed how we'd split delivery into two teams. We'll be working alongside each other for the next sort of rest of this quarter, and then sort of looking to split in Q3. But all of the sort of Kubernetes side of things will be sitting in Michele's team. So you'll see more of him in the future.
Nice to meet you, everybody.
Welcome, Michele. Or, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Michele.
Michele. Okay. Thank you very much for correcting me.
What is?
Yeah. A question for both of you. So, is Michele going to pick up this working group from Amy moving forward, or Amy, you're still hanging around?
Yeah, so I think eventually, yeah, if we still need to have this working group, then yeah, I think we'll hand over. But I'll certainly be around for the next few.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. And then on the what's happening next, this one's a little bit of what's in progress as well as what's happening next. But we are working at the moment on migrating Camo proxy. We're sort of in the early stages, but we're hopefully redeploying into staging in the next couple of weeks. What I wanted to just really check in is we're not currently, we are using Helm, but we're not currently adding into the GitLab chart. And I'm just checking that, is that long-term the right decision, or is this something like it's sort of outside of the GitLab application? So does it make sense that it stays outside the chart?
I guess the bigger question is, should it be part of the GitLab application? That's the real direct question. Is we're using it in GitLab.com, but we're not using it, recommending it, documenting it for any customer. Why not?
It's a very profound question, Jason. Who can help us answer that? Because I know one thing that's interesting, I think, about Camo is it has been listed as a requirement of staging ref. At the moment, we're not going ahead and adding it in because it will be easier to add it once we've done the migration to Kubernetes and we have it in a chart. Which is where then I suppose the question starts to come in is if we know we want Camo on staging ref, do other users want to have Camo on their things as well?
Right. I didn't actually know what Camo was, so I went and poked at it and read the project and what it does, and I'm like,
Same.
Yeah, I can see why this exists. So it kind of makes me wonder, maybe we should consider making this more.
Yes. Do you know, Chun, who like how does a decision like that get made? Where would we need to take that?
Introducing another dependency, I think there was a handbook. I will find out the link. I think there is a handbook to say when we introduce a new dependency, what we need to do. And I think there is a security page as well to specify when you introduce new dependencies, what security reviews needs to be finished. So I'll find out the link to the handbook pages.
Great. Great. Thanks for that. Great. And then so on 3, so we've been looking at doing some work. We're trying to improve some scaling in response to some scaling alerts that we're seeing. And we have this new chart MR up, but it's a little bit of a question, I suppose, about our breaking changes policy. So with this change, we would potentially cause problems for any users who have configured custom metrics. which is that something we need to worry about, like, or how do we handle something that's like a kind of a small or possible breaking change?
So since I'm the one who went, hey, is this related to that earlier today? The short answer, I haven't had a full chance to fully evaluate the cross points of where our supported version versus our target supported version is.
Right.
So I don't know, and there's not really a specific way for us to know how many users are making use of this. The good news is we have mechanisms in place to prevent people from putting something into a broken state.
Right.
So it's more we have to evaluate how do we roll it out to users to not make it as an impactful broken change or breaking change. Due to the nature of 1.2.4, Kubernetes 1.2.4 being out, 1.2.5 incoming, 1.2.5 deprecates a lot of things, not just the HPA version that we're currently deploying. So we actually have a number of issues scheduled for the coming milestones. Stephen, Dylan, you've seen the pile of we need to fix this before X date for 1.2.5. I can give you a more definitive answer, to be honest, after I've had time to review it, but Monday mornings are a little compact.
No, it's absolutely fine. Yeah, it's no great rush. Like,
Um,
honestly, for this one, I was thinking it's an interesting general conversation as well as a specific for this MR, but a general, like, for changes like this, when we possibly impact users, like, do we have a process we can already follow?
We do have processes that we can follow. We basically have to deem which one do we need to do. If
Right.
we're forcibly changing the object version and thus breaking compatibility, we have to go the deprecation route where we go, look, this is the way you had it, just so you know this has to be changed. Go change it, please. If you need to make a breaking change, but we're really changing a format on a custom value, the best we can do is actually have a warning in our check config that says we detected that your custom metrics looks like this, but we changed it. So please go switch it to this format, and then check config can detect. This is one of those things, like, it depends on what changed in the object type of Kubernetes, because sometimes the object version changes, but the structure doesn't, but it's interpreted differently. Kind of like how ingresses got slightly different and had new values. HPAs, they're fun in how they're changing. They're changing for the good, but we have to get everybody to go with it carefully.
Right. Okay, that makes sense then. Okay, brilliant. Well, we'll leave this one with you. Like, it's not like critically urgent, right? It's we are hoping to do some scaling, but it's not the world won't end if we don't review it like in the next few days. So I'll leave that with you. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, well, the plus side is since 15.0 milestone is also a major version change for the charts, if we can figure out the way to do it and get it in within this time frame, then now would be a good time to do it.
Right.
As a reminder for everybody in this call, the charts are not version locked to the GitLab project. So if we need to make a breaking change on behalf of production in the future, we have that ability.
Okay, that makes sense. Great. Perfect. And we have no blockers that I'm aware of at the moment. Discussion points that I thought might be interesting is I'm wondering around whether we've got any more news on Gitaly. So I know we've been testing on Gitaly and we've got some kind of some possible ways forwards, but I also heard that there's a possibility that Gitaly team would like Gitaly cluster to be running on .com and replacing Gitaly service and Prefect, which, if that's the direction we want to take, I suppose puts another question mark on what do we want to be in the chart. So we sort of moving towards Gitaly cluster, or are we actually looking to get Gitaly service into the chart via migrating .com? So I'm wondering what the next steps, like I feel like a lot of this working group kind of exists with the expectation that we will be tackling a Gitaly migration at some point in the future. is it simply that should I just ping Mark on the issue on the epic I've got here that Joshua sort of originally raised, or how can we continue that conversation?
I suggest reach out to Mark and also Andreas. Andreas is the EM of GitLab, so reach out to both of them to see what the direction is heading to. The GitLab team is heading to. Yeah, I don't have good insights there, to be honest.
Okay, that makes sense. And I suppose then maybe Dylan, perhaps for you, like is there a sort of a distribution opinion on what we want to offer with GitLab, or would it simply be the GitLab team sort of is setting a roadmap that we would follow along with?
I can't say that we really have an opinion. I think it's sort of up to them, besides what Jason's recommending. Yeah. Are they invited to these calls?
They were invited, but Mark probably not available today.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's a great time for them. They come sometimes, but it not terribly regularly.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll probably, whatever they're putting forward, we'll take in and do if it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, what I'll do is I'll do it on this epic I linked, which was, say, the sort of original, as it pulls together the reference architecture as well as everything. So I think that would be a good place to actually make a decision on there. Great. And are there any, so we talked a little bit about Camo already, but I'm wondering, like, are there other non-application specific components that actually we do care about for the GitLab chart as well? So I'm thinking, like, do we have an opinion on things like HA proxy, Redis, or any of those?
So Redis, at this point, essentially, we have the Bitnami chart that actually has the ability to run HA Redis. It's simply come down to, for the most part, most of our clients are either consuming a cloud platform for it or running out their own. It's not that they can't use the same chart. We even have professional services that implement the Bitnami Redis chart in a clustered stance. I say cluster not for Redis cluster, but Redis HA. Sorry. We can technically do that. It's been a matter of availability to change it from please bring your own in large production to look, we've tested this out. And that's one of those things where we need to have the time and we need some assistance in making sure that we're configuring it the right size and scale, etc., to do that. It gets complex when you get to the point of having to shard Redis, right? So when we start dealing with the colloquially, we've called it the multi-Redis scenario. When that comes into play, you must run multiple copies of Redises, and the chart certainly has no means to do that right now. And honestly, probably best not to put it in there because someone's going to do it when they don't need to, and it gets hyper complex. When it comes to PostgreSQL, the short answer on that one is PGHA in K8s is its own beast, just like PGHA is. And we have done our best to shy away from doing something we know is complex and quite possibly dangerous, and actually makes it harder to do the upgrades. Right? Because as our team knows, and if anybody's tried to do upgrades in K8s of Postgres that's deployed there, the way in which you have to do it is to shut it down, update it, reload the data from scratch, because it doesn't have an in-place upgrade for sane reasons. I don't have a problem for us spending the time to look into these things, but we've just not had the priority within our team to be able to do that. But we can. In terms of anything else that we have larger component-wise, HA proxy, this is one that's kind of a toss, right? AJ proxy is a proxy layer, and it is an ingress, like in terms of how Kubernetes would view it. It is an HTTP, TLS, gRPC. It does all the proxying of all the things. It's literally just a proxy. Nginx is effectively very similar.
Mhm.
I don't know that it makes sense to have essentially two methods of proxy again.
Mhm.
Like, it makes total sense when you have distributed systems, but like in this particular case, I'm scratching my head on the usefulness. Though we're not against necessarily replacing Nginx with HA proxy, but obviously investigation has to be had there.
Mhm.
And hilariously, yeah, we actually have something in 15.1 to investigate possibly replacing Nginx with something else.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Other components that are used in GitLab.com reference architectures or regularly by customers as a part of the reference architecture, I'd have to look at the full list. I don't know if anything jumps out to you, Tanya or Amy.
Honestly, I think Camo was the only one I recently discovered, which I'd kind of always been thinking was very outside, but with staging ref was not. But that was the only one I was aware of from that point of view.
I'm not aware of any others.
Okay, because I'm really, the reason I'm sort of asking about all of these things is sort of like whether we actually are still, like, how much of a Kubernetes migration do we still have? How much are we still needing a working group and a sort of putting high priority labels on MRs for things versus it just being now more business as usual as we continue to adapt and grow our sort of our clusters.
I do think it still makes sense to have a kind of regular cadence to, are we not including components that we're not aware of somehow? Are we making sure that what we're recommending to customers matches what we have in GitLab.com? It still makes sense because long term, beyond what we're doing for GitLab.com, we're also looking to consider pushing people towards that in the future. And we need to make sure that we have the same kind of high quality graded experience from our own learnings that we have within the traditional architectures.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Great. Okay. Is there anything else anyone would like to mention or ask about today? No, in which case, thanks very much for the discussion, everyone. Yeah, have a good rest of your Monday. Take care. Bye.